Blocking the spread, temples are told to tighten their COVID rules ahead of Lunar New Year. Tensions over Ukraine. The US warns Russia an invasion will lead to significant economic sanctions. Can democracy defeat pandemics? I speak to Audrey Tang, who says Taiwan has proven yes. Plus, going vocal. The small school in Hsinchu County that's making its mark with music. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Today, Taiwan reported a total of 92 cases of COVID-19, including 46 local cases. To prevent further spread, some of the most crowded places ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday, temples, are looking to prevent any potential spread of the virus. Our reporter Sandy Chi has the story.
Tossing divination blocks is a long-standing tradition at temples in Taiwan. It's a way for worshippers to communicate with the gods. But with the COVID-19 pandemic now in its second year, the faithful trust that the gods understand their need to be cautious. New rules mean that temple visitors must wear gloves and masks when divining their fates, and they're being encouraged to use their own tools.
那个宝贝你自己带来，保完你带回家，这是为了大家的安全、大家的健康。平常我们也没有那么多志工，每天派人在那边看着你，我们就直接收掉。
The temple is also disinfected twice a day.
那我们也会有专人，就是定期、定时，来针对这些部分来做一些清消的动作。
The precautions are welcomed by temple goers.
我感觉安全啊。没有。嘿。係啊，我感覺啲人民啊，什麼係攏真好啊。
The Omicron variant has also burst the Taiwan-Palau travel bubble after the government raised the alert level for the Pacific island nation. Now all travelers arriving from Palau must undergo a 14-day quarantine, the same as arrivals from other countries. Amid the rising COVID case numbers, some heartening news. 1.51 million Moderna vaccine doses arrived in Taiwan on Tuesday. The shipment is part of a 35 million dose deal Taiwan signed with the manufacturer in July last year. To date, 81% of Taiwan's population has received one dose of a COVID vaccine, some 74% have 2 doses, and 19% are boosted with the 3rd shot. As families gather to celebrate the new year, there's one wish they will share: for a virus-free holiday. Patrick Chen and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's food industry was hit hard by a surge in local COVID-19 cases in 2021, suffering its biggest drop in revenue in a decade. Latest government statistics show a more than 6% decrease in food and beverage sales across the whole of 2021. It marks the second year of negative growth and the second worst year in the industry's history. The Lunar New Year holidays are traditionally peak season for restaurants in Taiwan. The national holiday falls on the first week of February this year, but the arrival in the country of the Omicron variant could continue to put pressure on the local food industry. Taiwan's Vice President William Lai held talks with United States lawmakers via video call Tuesday night during a 24-hour transit stop in Los Angeles. Lai spoke to 17 members of Congress from both the Democratic and Republican parties, with discussions focused on trade relations and the threat posed by China. The Vice President is passing through the US en route to Honduras to attend the January 27th inauguration of newly elected Honduras President Xiomara Castro. Lai will transit through the US once more on the return leg of his journey, where he's expected to again meet virtually with government officials. North Korea fired 2 cruise missiles into the sea off its east coast on Tuesday, according to South Korea's military. Pyongyang has now conducted 5 missile launches since the start of the year, including tests of hypersonic weapons. No further details were given about the latest launch. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un hinted last week at a return to testing nuclear weapons and long-range missiles, something the country has not done since 2017. US President Joe Biden has said Russia will face significant economic sanctions if it invades Ukraine, as tensions at the Ukrainian border continue to simmer. Washington has now confirmed that it would not send unilateral troops in the event of an armed conflict, but it is in talks with other countries to help shore up Europe's supply of gas if Russia turns off the tap. But as the war of words continues, it's Ukraine that is calling for calm heads as the risk of escalation builds. James Chater reports.
Russian troops continue to amass at the border with Ukraine despite high-level diplomatic talks designed to quell tensions. The US President Joe Biden issued a fresh warning to Moscow.
I made it clear early on to President Putin that if he were to move into Ukraine, that there'd be severe consequences, including significant economic sanctions.
This week, the US sent more military hardware but confirmed no troops would follow in the event of an armed conflict. But a Washington-based security analyst says that even without US involvement, tensions on the Russia-Ukraine border would have wider repercussions.
I think we're looking at potentially the most significant conflict that we have seen since World War II. When you look at the kind of composition, the size, the capabilities that Russia is building up on Ukraine's border, it suggests that they're preparing for a relatively significant invasion scenario where they could possibly, encircle Kiev and take half of eastern Ukraine.
Russia conducted missile exercises on Tuesday and inspected their troops currently gathered near the border. Caught in the middle is Kyiv. Officials there have welcomed the support of Washington and its allies, but they also feel some of the US's measures have been excessive. Earlier this week, the US ordered the evacuation of its diplomats' families from Ukraine.
Поважаючи право іноземних держав на забезпечення безпеки своїх дипломатичних місій, вважаємо такий крок американської сторони передчасним і проявом надмірної перестороги.
Both Russia and the West are seeking to paint each other as the aggressor, pointing fingers to legitimize their own actions. And this Moscow-based analyst says it's becoming a key dimension of the conflict.
Важно, чтобы это и продолжало выглядеть как, Запад, он нагнетает. И в каком-то смысле информационно действительно на Западе этого больше. И получается, что мы-то, что называется, не хотим войны, а это Запад. Никто ни на кого не напал, а нас уже во всем.
Despite calls for calm, Washington continues to prepare for the worst. The White House is putting together a global strategy to shore up gas supply should Russia turn off the tap amid rising tensions.
But we've also been working to identify additional volumes of non-Russian natural gas from North Africa and the Middle East, Asia, and the United States. We're in discussion with major natural gas producers around the globe to understand their capacity and willingness to temporarily surge natural gas output and to allocate these volumes to European buyers.
As troops continue to amass amid a diplomatic stalemate, all parties are keeping their eyes firmly on the border between Russia and Ukraine. Bill Kong and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan may be poised to lift a ban on food imports from the Fukushima area of Japan. The ban followed the Fukushima nuclear disaster in 2011, but the government is keen to remove what could be an obstacle to Taiwan's bid to join the CPTPP Regional Trade Pact. Local media reported on Tuesday that ruling Democratic Progressive Party lawmakers are pushing for an announcement on lifting the ban as early as this week. A majority of the public opposes Fukushima food imports, though a poll on Tuesday showed the opposition is softening. Premier Susan Chang said the government would not compromise on food safety, but would be guided by international standards and science.
食安严格把关 绝不放水，绝不打折。但台湾是以贸易立国，我们要走向国际，非常清楚的，我们都要依据国际的标准，遵守国际的规则，政府也都会这样来做。
The supply of microchips in the US has fallen to its lowest level since the pandemic began. That's according to a new report from the US Department of Commerce. The report says the US manufacturers on average have just 5 days' worth of chips in their inventory and that the shortfall could cause factories to shut down. Earlier this week, Intel announced plans to open a $20 billion chip factory in Ohio by 2025, which would be one of the largest chip manufacturing facilities in the world. The world's biggest cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, has seen its value drop by almost 50% since reaching a record high of nearly $68,000 in November. The drop is being fueled by a tightened money environment as central banks around the world look to raise interest rates in the face of soaring inflation. Analysts have also pointed to stricter regulation in countries like the US and Russia. Earlier this week, Russia's central bank proposed banning the currency, labeling it a threat to economic stability. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are already banned in China. The digital currency is currently trading at just under $37,000. Coming up, as Lunar New Year approaches, we look at the unifying influence of Guanyin, the goddess of mercy. Stay with us here on TaiwanPlus.
This could be the best thing you've ever slurped in your life. Oh my. Are you sure this is not chicken? Cheers. Oh, would you look at that, bro? I think it's calling my name. Need it like the owes you money. Thing of beauty. Unbelievable. Why am I getting emotional? Did someone say not enough chocolate? And we're done. There's nothing we can't make vegan, you guys. I don't think I can describe how good that vibe was. You don't even need to be vegan to enjoy this. Is it though? It is.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. A reminder of our top story. Today, Taiwan reported a total of 92 cases of COVID-19, including 46 local cases. To prevent further spread, some of the most crowded places ahead of the Lunar New Year, temples are looking to prevent any potential spread of the virus. Japan and South Korea have both logged new daily records for COVID-19 infections. Japan's new cases broke 60,000 for the first time on Tuesday, as Tokyo prepared to put more prefectures under quasi-emergency measures to counter the spread of Omicron. On the same day, South Korea's daily infections exceeded 13,000 for the first time. Both countries have introduced new measures to reduce the strain on medical resources and focus on reducing deaths. China's tough approach to COVID, including mass testing and the lockdown of entire provinces, has kept the virus in check for now. But are harsh lockdowns the only way to stop the pandemic? I spoke to Digital Minister Audrey Tang, who says the Taiwan approach is about proving democracy works.
The Social Innovation Hub is a symbol of how Taiwan's military past is now an open, progressive present.
This place was literally the document and telegram center of the Air Force HQ. But we took down all the walls. It became like a public park.
And it's where you can find Taiwan's digital minister every week. Over decades, the people of Taiwan defeated a military dictatorship. Audrey Tang believes they can defeat pandemics. For that, she's found herself very much on the front lines of democracy, not just in Taiwan, but globally.
Let me turn now to Audrey Tang, the Minister without Portfolio in the government of Taiwan.
Every year, the human rights organization Civicus, with around 20 regional partners, conduct research about freedom and civic space. And Taiwan has been rated as completely open for 3 consecutive years.
But in attempting to depict that openness, Tang's presentation was suspended. The red flag? A map of civic freedoms showing Taiwan and China in different colors. It was blamed on a technical glitch. 5 days later, a speech in South Korea was cancelled, citing, quote, consideration of cross-strait issues. Cross-strait controversy is nothing new for Tang. This protest in 2014 mobilized tens of thousands of Taiwanese against a closed-door trade deal between the Kuomintang, or KMT, which was then in power, and the Chinese Communist Party. Tang, who at the time was working as a programmer in Silicon Valley, returned to help protesters communicate with the outside world. In 2016, the KMT was voted out, and Tang was taken on by the new government on a promise to begin Taiwan's digital revolution. The journey is ongoing. She wants her biggest achievement of 2022 to be
so that when people think about digital, they no longer think about centralization, authoritarianism, Terminator, or things like that, but rather think about plurality and democracy.
Digital democracy is Tang's calling, and gains have already been made. There's a national vaccine booking website, an SMS contact tracing system, and a real-time face mask availability map, all created by the Taiwanese public, which includes hackers and pharmacists, in partnership with Tang.
Innovating not just for the people, but with the people, we can take both values seriously and then deepen our democracy meanwhile.
Her efforts have been lauded by visiting dignitaries. On her Twitter feed, Tang quoted French parliamentarian Frédéric Dumas as saying, "Taiwan is the future, and the future is meant to be shared by all."
What they mean is essentially that we deepened democracy as a part of fighting the pandemic and also the infodemic, whereas in many parts of the world, what they hear is that in order to fight this, you have to centralize power, you have to take away some civic rights, you have to restrict freedom of speech and impose takedowns or lockdowns or other top-down measures.
Strict lockdowns in Chinese cities are seen as extreme by the wider international community.
A Taiwan model is fundamentally about proving that democracy works.
Government transparency has built trust, and the public has played its role in making the country safer. They were rewarded with no lockdowns. Tang says her biggest achievement in 2021 was part of Taiwan's achievement, fighting off the outbreak in May.
People were thinking that, oh, there's just no way to shorten the contact tracing time. There was no way to drive up vaccination and things like that in such a short time. But we did it. So in around 3 short months, we did fight off the worst of the first and so far the only wave.
Tang has always been forward-looking, and now she's looking forward to a post-pandemic world. Her biggest hope for 2022 is
I get to travel freely in 2022. I already agreed to visit at least Japan and Brussels.
She will travel with a message that people make up the successful Taiwan model. Tang believes this is meant to be shared with all. Karma Xu and Yin Khvat for TaiwanPlus.
Thailand and Saudi Arabia have agreed to restore full diplomatic ties after over 3 decades of tensions following an infamous jewel theft. The agreement to exchange ambassadors came during Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's visit to Riyadh, the first high-level meeting between the two countries since 1989. That was when a Thai janitor working in the palace of a Saudi prince stole $20 million worth of jewels, including a rare blue diamond, from the royal's bedroom. Thai police arrested the thief and recovered most of the stolen items. But after they were returned, Saudi officials found that around half were fake and the blue diamond was missing. To this day, the blue diamond affair, as it became known, remains unsolved. Greece has called out the army to help rescue thousands of motorists trapped overnight by rare snow in Athens. Rescue crews evacuated 3,500 people stuck on the city's main roads, while others abandoned their cars and walked out on foot. A public holiday was declared for Tuesday and Wednesday, with only essential services staying open. In a small school in Hsinchu County, a music program brings together the student body. Jinping Elementary School's Indigenous choir is inspired by the natural landscapes around them. The students' talent has even taken them to perform overseas. We join them to learn more about their inspirational story.
音乐对他们来的影响是非常的大，因为他们找到了一个定位点。
像我们学校也要出国去表演，那小朋友就必须学习到日本的曲子，学习到英语歌曲。
我的梦想是当一位护士，因为这样可以帮助很多人。
我想要当小老师、大老板。
当他领悟到歌曲，原来是这么优美，我想他就会自然融入在音乐里面，孩子也变得比较有定性。
大家好，我叫雅虎今天。
或许也是因为这样子的一个环境，塑造出他们可以不用想太多的去唱歌，
可以很专注的、很投入的。
跑！你不要乱跑嘛！合唱是很妙的东西，它要跟着指挥的眼睛是一起的，是有点像人格的那个形塑。
以后在做任何一件事的时候，过程都是很辛苦的。但是他们想到国小，我们是怎么从普惠，然后到可以拿全国第1名，让他们永远去记得这个过程。
我觉得他会学到很多，所谓的很多，它包含不只是音乐性的这一块，技巧乐理从歌啊，从团体活动、团队生活，他去学习合群。
最重要是让他们学习负责任。
那我是希望孩子们能够走出去，走到外面的世界，然后去看到更多。
As we approach the Lunar New Year, many people across Taiwan will be visiting temples to carry out rites believed to ensure a better year ahead. Taiwan is known for its diversity in not just culture, but also religions. There are thousands of deities worshipped in many forms, but there is one known as the Goddess of Mercy, who is seen as a unifying figure not only in Taiwan, but also its neighbouring countries. Rath Wang takes a look at the influence of Guanyin.
Worshipped all over East Asia, Guanyin is commonly known as the Goddess of Mercy. The deity is believed to have stemmed from Hindu and Buddhist elements in India, but transcended gender to become a motherly goddess in China.
国与国之间、种族与种族之间有所谓差别。全世界的观音菩萨虽然也有形象上的差异，但慈悲济世的精神却是没有差别。每个地方的观音信仰，更是融合了各国国家的习俗与民间信仰，而产生了独特却多元的观音信仰文化。
Venerable Xing Tao is the founder of Lingzhou Mountain Monastery and the Museum of World Religions. He spearheaded the Taiwan-Japan Guanyin International Forum, which brought together academics, religious leaders, and officials in Tokyo and Taipei. Xing Tao was born in Burma. His affinity for Guanyin grew through the kindness he experienced living through civil unrest and war before immigrating to Taiwan. And it's what's driven him to try to bring cultures together through spirituality.
小时候，只要听到观音菩萨的名号，我就会感动的流泪，就像是听到了自己的母亲的名字一样。
Guanyin's influence can be seen across Taiwan. The country has over 4,000 temples, and the most prominent is the 3-century-old Longsan Temple in Taipei.
Like temples here and all throughout Asia, whether it's Hindu, Buddhist, or Taoist, the permeating scent of incense brings about a calm and soothing atmosphere. As you can see here, people from all different walks of life, different generations, different backgrounds, come here to ask Guanyin, the Goddess of Mercy, for her blessing or for help.
What is unique about Taiwan's Buddhist temples is that it combines the country's 3 main folk religions, Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism, with Guanyin's compassion as a unifying center. Professor Huang Yunxi is an expert on traditional Taiwanese folk religions.
在术数方面呢，可能有一些有疑难杂症需要解决的话，可以到观音庙去求签、求观音签。 来指点迷津。
The moon blocks each have numbers, and once thrown, if they don't add up to a positive outcome, people ask Guanyin for her blessing to change their predicted fate. What's also unique about Buddhist temples in Taiwan is the architecture. Professor Li Qianlang, who researches this topic, explains how the temple design puts Guanyin at the center.
台湾的佛教信仰是以观世音为主的啊，那它的建筑物呢也盖得非常巨大，通常呢大殿是供奉观世音菩萨，反而是边殿或者后殿啊才是其他的啊，包括文殊啊，或者是普贤菩萨啊，甚至这个释迦佛祖，有些时候还不在大殿啊，会在后殿。从这里就看出来，台湾的佛事最主要还是以观世音菩萨的信仰为主。
As the Lunar New Year approaches, the unifying influence of Guanyin will resonate a world trying to overcome another year of the pandemic. Worshippers will be flocking to temples in many countries in Asia, praying for a merciful year of the tiger. Klein Wang and Rath Wang reporting for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. I'm Yin Khvat. We leave you with pictures of an upside-down house built in Colombia's Guatavita. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the Taiwan Plus app. Stay safe and see you next time.